At a joint Ghana-IMF press conference on Thursday, the government reiterated that the loan facility agreed by the IMF will not be misused. Finance Minister Ofori-Atta says Ghana's macroeconomic stability will soon be realized, adding that the government is being measured with objectives on returning to the international capital market.
What you believe will be a precipitation of our return to the international capital markets. On the issue of borrowing, I mean, the reason for this program is to bring us down to 55% debt to GDP ratio, and that program will hold. Really, in addition to the revenue measures that we saw in the budget and that improving our GRA, that will give us the resources to move forward. Curtailing and managing our expenditures are going to be important. No, there's no rush to go back to international capital markets. Our expectation is that in managing our expenditure and increasing our revenue, we'll have the resources to it. Working towards the capital market is important because we then get our ratings up and make the country more attractive for foreign investors, especially FDI. But rest assured that no one is rushing to the international capital markets at this juncture.
Ghana is also slated to receive the first $600 million installment of the bailout fund on Friday, May 19, 2023. Here is Finance Minister again.
For the question, as Stefan has mentioned, there's a $600 million release. I'm sure I'll be working with him to see whether we can get it by tomorrow. And then we move on to the next 6 months, which will be another $600 million. And then we have about 5 different tranches every 6 months in the periods forward to get to the $3 billion. With regards to the issue of the negotiations and discussions of commercial and external creditors, we really are, at the beginning of that discussion, and therefore cannot really be specific about what haircuts or how that would end. But so far, discussions have been very cordial, and we hope that with the signals given by the fund, we'll also have an accommodation that will suit all parties.
On the part of the IMF, the approved program is one that is resilient and fosters inclusive economic growth. Stefan Rude is IMF Mission Chief for Ghana.
Just to give you a few examples, the 2023 budget and the associated revenue reforms were very important first steps towards putting public finances back on a sustainable track. To restore debt sustainability, the government has launched a comprehensive debt restructuring. And the Bank of Ghana has also taken decisive steps to control inflation, and these efforts are already paying off. These are all essential ingredients to address the current challenges and to boost Ghana's prospects going forward. Of course, help from the international community is also needed, and the IMF is playing its part. The $3 billion extended credit facility approved by our board yesterday will support the government's efforts to address this crisis and build the foundations for a better and more inclusive future for all Ghanaians. It will also help ease financing constraints, including by unlocking more funding from the rest of the international community. Ghana's economic program has three key objectives. The first one is to restore macroeconomic stability. The second one is to ensure that debt is put on a sustainable path. And the third one is to lay the foundations for stronger and more inclusive growth. To reach these objectives, several policy priorities have been laid out by the government. Look, the first thing I would like to emphasize is that, of course, this program is very much focused on restoring macroeconomic stability, anchoring debt sustainability, and it will also create the foundations for higher and more inclusive growth. So I think that's very important because this will set the stage for a much brighter future for all Ghanaians. But now to your question about the future, I think it's important to emphasize also that this is a program that is very rich in its structural component. It includes many reforms that cover a large range of sectors, and these reforms will make the economy more resilient to shocks in the future. And this is what the government and the IMF are looking for in this program. It's a program that will make the economy more resilient and more likely to withstand shocks in the future.
Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, remains hopeful that economic indicators will see some improvement once the account of the central bank is credited.
The issue is about resilience, and this is really what I tried to explain in my earlier intervention, that as at the end of 2021, inflation was at 12.6, and within a year it rose to 54.6 because we had a major challenge with access to financing, especially. And as Stefan said, a major part of this program is focused on fiscal consolidation. As you're aware, there are new revenue measures which should enhance revenue flows to the budget and therefore reduce the demand for financing. You've also had the implementation of the debt exchange program. So the foreign exchange outflows that are associated with debt service should reduce. And then the catalytic impact of the IMF flows, which would, also help attract other foreign inflows, both direct and bilateral support. And all of that should help, in a sense, not only bring inflation down, but also help with exchange rate stability.